Hey there, I'm a digital marketing associate with SmartThoughts, the software advisement firm that helps associations and nonprofits make smarter tech decisions. Now, if you're an association executive, you know that member engagement is pretty much the whole game. But what do you do when the community tool baked into your main management software just isn't getting the job done? Today, we're taking a really balanced, honest look at Breezio, a dedicated community platform to help you figure out if it might just be that missing piece in your tech stack.
All right, let's dive right in. We're going to tackle this in 4 key parts. First, we'll get a quick overview. What is this thing really? Then we'll dig into its core strengths, where it shines. After that, and this is crucial, we'll talk about the limitations and trade-offs. And finally, we'll wrap up with the most important questions you need to be asking your team before you even consider making a move.
So, first up, let's set the stage. It is absolutely essential to understand what Breezio is. And, just as importantly, what it isn't. That's how we'll see where it really fits in the pretty crowded world of association technology.
And here is the single most important distinction. Breezio is not an association management system. It's not an AMS. Think of your AMS as the central nervous system. It's your system of record, it handles dues, your member data, all that critical stuff. Breezio is something different. It's the engagement layer. It's the town square that sits on top of your AMS, designed specifically to get your members talking, networking, and sharing ideas with each other.
The company's backstory is actually pretty telling. They were founded back in 2014, and they're a small, focused team. But what's really interesting is that they didn't start out serving all associations. Their first niche was the scientific research community. And that's so important because it really baked collaboration and deep knowledge sharing into their DNA from day one. And you can still see that focus in the product today. And this mission statement says it all, doesn't it? They're not trying to be just another social feed that looks like Facebook. The key phrase here is real-time content contribution. They are all about building tools that help your members actively create and work together, not just passively scroll and comment. That's a huge difference. Okay, so that's the philosophy, but how does it actually show up in the software? Let's get into the core strengths and see where Breezio really genuinely excels.
Maybe its single biggest strength is what we call a best-of-breed approach. See, Breezio doesn't want to replace your AMS. It doesn't want to be an all-in-one system. Instead, it wants to be the absolute best tool for one very specific job, building community. The whole idea is that it plugs in and works deeply with the systems you already have.
And that integration, well, it's not just a talking point. They back it up with over 30 supported integrations with different AMS and CRM systems. And why does that matter? It means all that amazing engagement happening in the community. Every discussion, every document shared can flow right back into your main member database. That gives you an incredibly rich 360-degree view of your members. And as you can see, we're not talking about a bunch of obscure systems here. They connect with the big players in the association world. Fonteva, Your Membership, NetForum, and many more. This wide-ranging support is absolutely key to making sure you have a smooth experience with things like single sign-on and keeping all that member data perfectly in sync. Breezio makes a very deliberate choice in its design. A lot of platforms focus on being a generic social network. Breezio zigs where they zag. It prioritizes features built for real knowledge sharing and career growth. I'm talking about things like creating documents together, having structured mentorship programs, and building out these really robust resource libraries. When it comes to pricing, they're refreshingly transparent. Now, the key thing to understand here isn't the specific price tag, but the philosophy. Every single pricing tier gets the full feature set. You are not paying more to unlock some special tool. The investment simply scales based on your number of members. This positions them perfectly in that mid-market spot, making them a really accessible option for associations who need serious community tools but don't have a massive enterprise budget. Okay, now for what I think is the most important part of any good software review, understanding the limitations. And let me be clear, we don't see these as fatal flaws. Think of them as strategic trade-offs that you have to weigh against your association's unique needs, your team's capacity, and what your members are actually asking for.
So let's be candid and really dig into what those trade-offs look like in the real world.
First off, when you choose Breezio, you're partnering with a small, focused company. Now, the upside to that can be really personal, hands-on support. But the potential downside? You might see a slower pace for new features. You also have to be aware that they don't have a huge presence on public review sites, and their future product roadmap isn't always laid out for everyone to see. That just means you're placing a bit more trust directly in the vendor and their vision. This table does a great job of showing where Breezio lives. It's right in that mid-market sweet spot.
It's trying to be more powerful and more association-focused than a general tool like Circle, but way more accessible and less overwhelmingly complex than an enterprise giant like Higher Logic. For many associations, that's the exact niche they've been looking for.
So, with all of that context in mind, let's get down to brass tacks. Here are the critical questions that you and your leadership team absolutely have to answer internally, long before you even think about looking at a contract. Think of these as your personal evaluation checklist. And this is the big one. Question number 1. Is your current community tool really the problem? Or is it your engagement strategy? You have to be honest here, because no piece of software on Earth, no matter how great it is, can magically fix a community that lacks strategy or a dedicated community manager.
Next, you've got to ask yourselves, how important are Breezio's core strengths to what you actually do? Do those specific tools, like content co-creation or mentorship programs, line up directly with the strategic goals that are going to keep your members coming back year after year?
This is a gut check question. Can your team realistically manage a separate best-of-breed tool? I mean, does your staff have the time and the technical chops to handle another system? Or would an all-in-one solution, even if it's a little less powerful, just be a better, more practical fit for your current resources?
And of course, the bottom line. Breezio is a mid-market solution. Does that level of investment fit your budget? And maybe more importantly, how are you going to measure success? Do you have a clear plan to track the return on that investment, whether it's through higher engagement scores, new non-dues revenue, or better member retention?
So how do you pull this all together and make the right call? As we've seen, Breezio could be a fantastic choice for a very specific kind of association. But at the end of the day, fit is everything. The right choice for you will always depend on your strategy, your budget, and your team's real-world capacity.
In all our years of consulting, one of the biggest mistakes we see is an association falling in love with cool features, but completely overlooking the practical side of things, like integration or the internal workload. And let me tell you, choosing the wrong tool isn't just a line item on a budget. It can set your entire member engagement strategy back for years. So hopefully this explainer has given you a much clearer picture of what Breezio brings to the table, both its strengths and its trade-offs. The next logical step is to see how all that applies to your unique situation. And honestly, that's where having an expert guide can make a world of difference. If you want some help thinking through these questions and figuring out if Breezio or maybe another tool is the right fit, we'd love to talk. Book a totally free 20-minute consultation on our website at smartthoughts.net, or just give us a call at 817-523-9801. We can help you make sure your next technology decision is the right one for your members and for your future.